that. I was actually recording an episode for Morrowind until just now. And it looks like I am hosting Octavian for some reason. With all due respect to Octavian, he's a wonderful streamer. But how about I get my stream going here? All right. So first thing I got to check is for transcodes. They are there. First try. That makes me happy. I will give credit where credit is due. You know what? Let me just start up the game and then we can talk about what's going on. So again, I have been pretty inconsistent with my start times, particularly on Mondays for the last little while. I do apologize for that. I am feeling probably about 80% better than what I was before, but not 100%. And I will admit, as sort of Friday indicated, I have been having a lot of trouble sleeping. I do not think I've gotten a proper, full night's sleep in the, I almost want to say a week. And I've sort of been able to manage it. I've tried to sort of get little naps in between times when I can, but it really has created a big strain on me trying to get a lot of stuff done. So there will be a fuller Morrowind episode tomorrow, and then I do still intend to do Outer Wilds on Friday. And then for those of you who are checking out the Monday stuff, obviously Stellaris has kind of gone away. That's not intentional, but I've really enjoyed Invasions, and I kind of wanted to strike while the iron was hot on this one, because I know it takes me a long time to go through campaigns, and there was something that came up in chat last time that made me feel a little, maybe not a little bad for the game, but something that I wanted to put a little more effort on this one. So Stellaris hasn't gone anywhere. I will try and be back to that if I can, maybe next week, but we'll see where we're sitting in terms of Age of Wonders Planetfall. The sooner I can get stuff off my plate, of course, the more free days I have to sort of do. One thing I'm not crazy about with my current schedule right now is that I kind of have one different game each day, and it wasn't always that case. In fact, I tended to notice there was a higher viewer count when I would do sort of the same game multiple days in a row. Now, there's a couple of reasons why that format has changed, and of course that's also correlated with some other things. I was definitely a lot more involved in certain communities in the past, which were also very healthy sources of sort of viewership and followers. So it's hard to get a read on exactly what people are looking for. But with that in mind, as I'm trying to do for the YouTube groups, I'll make these opening statements as brief as I can. If you'd like to see more Age of Wonders Planetfall, particularly Invasions, but in general, and especially if you'd like to see something dedicated to YouTube on it, please do leave a comment to that effect. If you don't want to see it, again, no big deal, and probably not necessary to write a comment saying, I'm not interested. I kind of take that as implicit, but I did want to get that at the start, because if I ask that at the end, I sort of know that I'm selecting for the super fans, whereas at the beginning, it's nice to get some of these details out of the way. I'm going to try and keep it within the 5 to 10 minute range in terms of opening comments. This Wednesday, everything's good, but the following Wednesday, July the 8th, that will be the next local game dev meetup, Dirty Rectangles. I will not be presenting at that, but I really do like to show my support at that organization. They're really wonderful people, and in particular, they last presentation, the one that I presented at, the sort of the protests related to Black Lives Matter and the George Floyd killing, among others, of course, were quite fresh. And so the intention, of course, would have been to give sort of people of color and other underrepresented groups maybe a little bit more of a visible platform for the presentations. But I think there is a fairly reasonable concern that if you give people very short notice to present their stuff, you're not really, some people might have some stuff on the shelf, other people might have to rush something together, and at that case you're highlighting these voices, but you're not necessarily giving them the best platform. And so it was imperfect. I think they definitely really wanted to try, but in this particular case, I believe this week they're going to be giving some priority on that one, and certainly I would, out of all of them, this is one I would particularly want to support, because of course this is kind of the way I found all of the interesting stuff that I've done on Twitch, to look in places where people don't normally look. And the Dirty Rectangles organization has been very good for that in general, but also because they're, this is now 2 cities worth of people presenting. There's a lot of really, really interesting opportunities that might come out of that. And if nothing else, it just gives me a chance to sort of add my voice to people saying that they should keep making games, and that they have the support to do that. So that means that not this coming Wednesday, but the following Wednesday, July 8th, it's very unlikely that I will be doing a stream, just because I'm going to be, participating in that meetup. However, I believe they're hosting them on Twitch now, so I will try and host it, and if you guys happen to be around the channel at that time, I'd love it if you guys came along, because it's a group of people who I really think are worth supporting, and they're doing good work. Of course, it is also worth mentioning that there are 2 sales going on right now. There is the Paradox Midsummer Sale. I think that's close to wrapping up, but of course there's also the Steam sale going on. Now, I was given a copy of Age of Wonders Planetfall, as well as its 2 DLC, Revelations and now Invasions, from Paradox, and thank you very much for that. And of course, there's been Stellaris, there's been Crusader Kings 2, there's been Imperator Rome, Surviving Mars. Certainly no shortage of support from that company. And, but of course, I don't have to say yes to every key. So while I always want to be upfront about those interests and about that connection, I did want to point out that Age of Wonders Planetfall, whether you buy it on the Steam store, I also believe if you go to paradoxplaza.com, it is currently half off for everything but Invasions. Of course, Invasions was just recently released, and that'll include things like the deluxe edition content. If you get the premium edition, obviously you get the season pass with that. So I think the premium edition is about $50 Canadian. And I think that's a fairly reasonable price for this game. Obviously, your mileage may vary. It's really tough. It's actually my least favorite review on sites like Steam. This is actually why I really don't understand the arguments people make for storefronts having reviews on them. Like, I don't think Uplay would be enhanced by reviews. I don't think EA Origin would be enhanced by reviews. Because it's really common for me to see a review something to the effect of, this game's only worth it for $5. Well, $5 to me is very different from $5 to someone who was just recently laid off. There is no absolute dollar value for a game. I think probably what is more informative is whether or not the game is fun and worth playing, and it's ultimately up to the individual buying it to decide what it's worth. And I think one thing that was a bit of a shame was when somebody came into chat and said that they felt that the game had sort of fallen off the face of the earth, and certainly the Twitch coverage seems to be a little bit thinner. I know there was a bit of trouble in terms of getting, at least for me, in terms of getting an update in terms of this new DLC and a press key. I certainly don't feel that I'm entitled to a press key for anything, let alone Paradox games. But it did kind of catch me by surprise that they were available, and I know I had a little bit of trouble getting myself set up for that. Again, I'm still very grateful that I got it, because I as you can see, I actually have been really enjoying Invasions. But I did, on the last broadcast, last week, we took a look at the concurrent players on SteamDB.com, and it seems that it sort of leveled out to about a comparable level to Age of Wonders 3. And I find that a little bit of a shame. Not necessarily, I mean, I don't know what success for a game like this looks like. I kind of feel like that would probably be covered inside of Paradox's financial statements. But I would just sort of say that my own personal experience is that it's not just that Age of Wonders translated the fantasy setting incredibly well to science fiction with this really original sort of story and this tremendous personality to all of its species, I actually think the gameplay changes that they made are really effective. I think they've simplified the game across a few dimensions that make it more interesting to play without necessarily removing some of the depth. And I think that's a step that's been true for a lot of Paradox games over time. Stellaris is probably one of the best starter games for somebody wanting to get into grand strategy, for the simple fact that it has a tremendous amount of depth, and yet the interface with it is one of the simplest. And so things like in Planetfall, where, now again, of course, this is the difference between Paradox Development Studio and Paradox Interactive, the publisher. Of course, Planetfall is made by Triumph Studios, not Uncle Cranky. Great to see you. How are you doing tonight? I'm also past the 10-minute mark, so we will be jumping into the game momentarily. But I did want to just say that I think the idea of little things like not having to agonize over which hex you put down a settlement. Instead, you put them inside of regions. Allows you to do all of the manipulation of the economy. And of course, with subsequent patches, I think it was first the Stegosaurus, definitely the Tyrannosaurus was a huge change. These updates really streamlined the economy, but largely made it interesting. And so you still get all of the depth, you get all of the interest of playing the tactical game. You get to focus on moving your troops, getting your objectives done. And yet the strategic layer remains engaging, but basically the cognitive effort that you're exercising are much more in line with how am I going to achieve my overall goals, as opposed to things like agonizing over individual hexes. And I generally I think these are the kinds of improvements that get made to games which really don't get talked about a whole lot, and yet I tend to find them to be the ones that really make the difference in terms of whether or not I think it's a 10 out of 10 versus like a 9 out of 10, whatever those rankings mean. So with that in mind, it's kind of I'm really enjoying the Invasions campaign. I actually still haven't finished the base games campaign. I feel a little silly about that, but what was I gonna say? The fact that I'm able to I don't know. There's just really something to me about being able to go through all of the strategic choices I would normally make in a game like this, or like a Civilization style set of decisions to make the game interesting, or the sort of thing that I would associate with the one more turn element, or going down research trees and all of that. All of that stuff is still there. But again, what I really like is that I think the things that make Age of Wonders stand out, all of the paths seem to go to simplifying the path to that thing that is interesting, and all of the things that are maybe less interesting get abstracted away. It's a step that I really like, but maybe it's better that I just show it. So I am cheating a little bit here. We did destroy this shroud generator. Now, by my reading of enemy Imperial defenses raised, this should count as the 5th one, but it seems that for one reason or another, Elop territory is fortified with the Imperial defenses. These structures provide additional combat support to your enemies and need to be razed to the ground. Hint, Imperial defense structures will get defended by the garrison of the colony or sector base that they are connected to. So, my view here was that this should be, this should count as a, this should count as one of the defenses being raised. Apparently it doesn't, though, so I'm going to be a little corny. I realize that I'm sort of rewinding history Low risk battle. Well, I'll auto-combat it, but I have a feeling we're going to lose this raider. Yep, so we'll retry. We'll see if we can do better. How you doing tonight, Uncle Cranky? Alright, no real surprises here. I do like the fact that we've got our sonic weapons because, of course, we're going to be able to knock the protection off. There might be a little bit of a challenge getting everything done on time, though. So, all right. So I will admit I'm not entirely crazy about taking my commander. Actually, you know what? For a first move, let's get fancy. Hollow Shift would give me a Frenzied. Just getting mentally prepped for a return to work next Monday. I'm really happy that you got that job. I think you did wind up telling me about your salary negotiations. By the way, I did make an adjustment to my mic volume. And it seems to be a little hot, but not overwhelming. Is the game to voice volume okay? And is the quality of my voice all right? Is it? I don't want it to be distorted. But I actually think that I've restored it to what it should be rather than it. It's good? Okay, great. I know Windows has this really unfortunate habit of making the it'll do a system update and then it will turn my microphone volume up to an unacceptably high level. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drop the recon boy. So what I'm doing here basically is I'm giving them a penalty to stay put, but if they run up, they're going to have to like really commit. So I mean, again, the one that I'm not as interested in targeting can move outside. This guy maybe can. I'm not sure. Whether or not this actually works, I'm not 100% sure, but let's see what we can make out of all of this. I'm okay running this guy a little bit closer up front. Again, the drawback is that they've got the shield bonus from their ally. They've got they've got the advantage of cover. Anything I'm really going to be doing here is just chip damage, but that doesn't, it's not nothing. So what I'm a little worried about here is that I'm leaving my hacker wide open. But again, if I can get a little chip damage on people, so much the better. Turns out I didn't. And then the infiltrator becomes the more interesting choice. So I'm going to move them up for starters. And actually, I think I will turn them into a frenzied. That gives me a little bit of extra armor, which I don't believe the Engulfer is going to be able to hurt me with. Now, the one thing I don't want to do is cluster this particular unit up with anybody else, because he's going to be a prime candidate for some spit up. So in this case here, I'm going to bring him up on the front line. My hope is that people will take the hacker and the sort of the frontline trooper first. Whether or not that works, I don't know, but I'm going to keep it as it is for now, and then the second turn is going to be where we really retaliate. I'm just going to take a quick second here and get my shout out for Uncle Cranky as well. Now, is your streaming schedule going to be adjusted as a result of your newfound employment, Cranky, or have you kind of kept the same hours that you did back when you were employed at your old place? Okay, so as kind of expected, they got out of the range. I'm sorry, out of the you know what I'm saying. That was a pretty good run. I should have thought that through a little bit more, particularly given that this guy is quite weak, but I feel like I've got some opportunities here. Okay, so not this guy. what I want to work out first is what I'm doing with this raider here. So I think I am definitely quite nervous about leaving this guy on their own. But I also feel that in this particular case, it's too much of an opportunity to be able to take them off the board. Tall man alive. That is 13 months. So not only are you on a 13-month subscription, so thank you very much for that. I hope you've been getting your money's worth, your Prime's worth, your whatever you want to think of it as. Prime costs money, so it's money's worth. That's incredibly kind of you. Again, I'm at another one of these low ebbs on the stream. There was a lot of unfollows recently, which, you know, these things happen. But they haven't necessarily been compensated with it. So, like, there's a couple of reasons why that might happen, right? There's obviously a lot of follows that came as a result of doing the Steam stream, and then when people find out that maybe the stream isn't for them, they're gonna you know, unfollow. So there's always going to be a little bit of give back on that. But with that in mind, it still doesn't feel great. And especially when I don't sort of have the next source of growth lined up, it can sometimes cause me a little bit of, you know, a little bit of distress. But I think I've mentioned this before, like, your subscriptions always seem to come in right around the time that I'm sort of like, oh, maybe I'm not good at this. Maybe people have lost interest. That's super nice. Like, you know, again, I never like taking that sort of stuff for granted, but it really does make the difference sometimes. So, listen to mirror to their own with hands. Very kind of you. Anyways, sorry, Uncle Craig. I kind of gave you only like I gave you the mini shout out. Guys, I do recommend that you check out Uncle Cranky. Again, he's more of a retro streamer, or sorry, variety retro streamer is probably the better term. But I always have a really great time there, and as you've probably noticed, he's been hanging out a lot and definitely been making the chat a better place by, you know, just hanging out, showing his smiling face, and generally saying nice things about my ability to play strategy games. All right, so the worry that I have here is it's a 35% chance. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna get super John Casey locked in the basement. I'm gonna try something here. So So there's absolutely no reason to there's no reason why you should feel that you have to go this in-depth inside of a game. But here's a little bit of an example. There's actually a video of me doing this on another game, but it's a little silly, and I would have done it a bit differently than I would now. I wonder if I still have this app on my phone. Just 1 second here. That's great that you're installing an Apple, but where is it? Oh, here we go. All right. So the idea here is that you can sort of do kind of a gut check on it. Actually, you can also do control for info. So close assault. I believe there's that penalty for not being close enough to this guy. The cover is obviously the big drawback here. But essentially what I want to do... Then, of course, the Recon Boy is sort of boosting things up and whatnot. But what I'm really looking for here is the chats that I'm going to hit. Now, the idea of the stagger and whatnot's a whole other deal. And I can look at that and I can say 35%. Well, that's not too encouraging. But then I can also say, well, but it looks like there's 2 shots. I'm actually a little confused that there's 2 shots. I think there should be 3. But it's possible that Oh yeah, we got hit by something that stunned me, so... damn it. So I'm actually, if you want, you can just... Wolfram Alpha tends to simplify these calculations quite a bit. But basically the idea here is, so I'm going to be firing off 2 shots. Each of those... This music's really upbeat, not like... Oh, constructive... This, you think for this game the music is a bit too high for your taste. The music is really upbeat, not like too loud, you meant. Are you talking about it being like overwhelming for my voice, or just in general that this game, like the style of music doesn't quite work for you? I actually am quite fond of the soundtrack, but I suppose it depends on the context that you're looking for. So you're saying that like I should be lowering the volume on the music then? Sorry, I'm being really picky on that. It's just when I take a look at my levels, it seems that it's actually about half as loud as... It seems like it's about half as loud as my voice. I mean, I can if there's a consensus on that, but does anybody else feel that as well? Because I'm worried that if I go a bit lower, then the game is gone completely. But I mean, again, I kind of need to rely on the audience on that. So let me talk about the concept I was going to say. So the challenge here, though, is that it's not a 35% chance. I get two attempts, each of which have a probability of 0.35. So obviously, the least likely circumstance would be all of them are successes. But all that I need is one success, and the probability, and so like the challenge here is like, what are all the possibilities here, right? You could say both are successes, first one's a success, second's a failure, first one's a failure, second one's a success, both are failures. You know, lots of different possibilities, and you know, you might want an easy way of calculating something like that, and in fact you can. They're called Bernoulli trials. So for instance, I just tried, the reason why I wanted to get this app was or download this app again, was, although you can go to the website, Wolfram Alpha, if you just type in 2 Bernoulli trials, Bernoulli, named after the family that did a number of mathematical discoveries, probability 0.35, it will actually do this calculation for you. And so the probability of at least one success is 0.57, or 0.58 if you round it. So again, it's a little bit better than a coin toss. It's not necessarily the best in the world. And given the fact that I haven't heard anything else, I'm going to have to go with what Tall Man Alive said, and I'm going to put down the volume just a hair. But again, I'm a little bit worried that, like, when I look at my voice, it's almost at the top range, and I'm worried that if I go any higher with my voice, it's going to start getting distorted. But I'm also worried that the game will wind up too quiet. Again, if anybody has any strong feelings on that, please let me know. So, in any case, what we're really dealing with here is I wanted to say, okay, would I take this shot? So what I'm relying on? Well, I'm relying on shooting this guy so that he can get staggered, and then once he's staggered, we take out the unit that we're really worried about, which is this unit over here. Given the fact that with these 2 shots, I'm going to be able to take out half their health, the question is it worth it for me to try and take this guy out, or should I be trying to send some other unit like the droid? Actually, you know what? With that in mind, so I get 3 attempts at a 40% versus this, which would be 50%. So this is clearly the better shot. In fact, again, we can do the exact same trick which we did here. In this case, it's 3 Bernoulli trials with a probability of 0.4. Remembering that so we often talk about probabilities as percent, but basically a probability, it's, as long as it's between 0 and 1. So when you have 3 Bernoulli trials, again, this is because we only moved 1 unit up, and it's a 40% chance to hit because it's, of course, an elevated unit and whatnot. What we're looking for is only 1. We just need 1 stagger in order to break the defense. And in this case, the likelihood of 1 success would be 0.78, which in this case is a pretty that's a pretty high likelihood. I will admit it would be kind of nice if games did these calculations for you, or you had the option of doing something like that, because I'm not entirely sure when you play a game like this you want to be you want to be looking at a you don't really want to be sitting down, especially if you don't know like a website that does these calculations for you really simply. I'm not sure you want to like pull out the pencil and pen and like figure out the exact weights of all of these things. But to give you an example, right? Let's say you were faced with a situation like this, and the 2-hit was like 5%. Like it was just an incredibly unlikely event, but you had a repeating weapon with 3 strikes. What's the chance of that going through? You look at the 5%, you say that's like almost certainly not going to hit. Why would I waste the shot? Well, if you get 3 trials, it's actually a 15%. Well, close to 15%. It's actually 14%, but it's close to 15%. Now, that's not a really high chance, but if you would have considered a 15% chance, you should also be considering that 5% chance with 3 attempts. Now, of course, if you need all of them to hit to do the damage, that's a different matter. But in this case here, again, what's our strategy? We're trying to knock down the connection with the Transcendent so that we can do damage to this guy before he starts harming our other units. And so in this case here, it's quite likely that we're going to be able to stagger them, and as a result, the rest of my units are going to be able to do the damage. I'm not going to do that calculation each time. Yeah, so in this case, we got that on the first trial. And I mean, the rest of this is just gravy, but... Wow, and we got a crit. Okay. So, I suppose the question is, how do I want to spend the time? Seems to me... I really should be cleaning this guy up, and the ability to do a high frequency blast. So when we look at that, right, 33% chance for the stagger, that's not as good as that drone. So in this case here, I think just cleaning up this unit is enough. It's not the most exciting choice that I could make, but of course I'm putting the unit that's going to get flanked by the Transcendent and possibly the Engulfer is also the unit that I have to give back at the end of the turn. So not too worried. How's the volume? Is it still uncomfortable? Again, I'm not married to a particular setting. I'm very conscious of the fact that the more I start messing with my settings, the more the channel becomes maintenance rather than about the game. But if people aren't enjoying it, obviously I want to try and accommodate. All right, this one, I mean, this isn't really about getting the hit. This is just I don't have any better place for this hacker. I think they're better behind the cover, and whatever chip damage I can do. Yeah, so nothing there. And then I guess we're on to my commander. So the question here would be, am I comfortable with the fact that they might have an area of effect attack? Well, I suppose that's the question. Do they have an area of effect attack? The Caustic Smoke's already been run. The Gunk Thrower, I don't believe is an area of effect attack. So I'm going to do the jetpack jump in this case here, just so that I can get in a little bit earlier, and if I'm lucky with my hits... Nice. So the Transcendent is no joke. Like, this is going to be a fairly heavy hitting unit, but the likelihood of them targeting my weakest ones is pretty remote. So let's see how the turn goes. Okay, so we've lost the scanner. At this point here, I think I try and take advantage of whatever flanks I can.
Our forces are victorious.
All right, that was easy. Yeah, so that victory music seemed to be pretty loud. I'll try one more time on lowering the volume, but if it is too quiet, guys, please let me know. Yeah, I'd be happy to, Tall Man Alive. I think you're talking about the Cultist Simulator one, right? I'm always happy to talk about that one. I should actually do a YouTube video on it. All right, so we're going to raise this. Now, the challenge is that we found last time that at least this generator didn't seem to count as an Imperial defense to raise. Can you teach you how to do something like this? Not for cult. Yeah. So I mean, I did wind up buying a textbook, which I didn't use for that particular analysis, but I was interested. So the reason I did that project was to actually teach myself the methods for that. So if you do like a search for network analysis, you'll probably, or even social network analysis, you'll probably find at least a couple of online resources already. There is a really helpful Python package called Network X, and I used that in combination with the work that, what's the name? The textbook? Let me just grab it. It's like this is outside of. I did keep in mind I got this after I did the post, right? So I can't give this a huge recommendation yet because I'm still working through it. It's also a sociology book, so it's outside of my usual field, but it's called Social Network Analysis: Methods and Applications, and it's by Stanley Wasserman, Wasserman, and Catherine Faust, Katherine Faust. It's published by Cambridge University Press. So, like and again, that's not the only source for this sort of stuff, right? That's probably, like, that's the one that I found in the bibliographies of the other stuff that I wrote, or that I read. So part of learning how to do that was finding an application, and I thought that for the purposes of network analysis, I thought that what was it? Cultist Simulator, because it was like a card game and because so much of the game was communicated through the relationships between the card. There's a couple of things that I wanted to try. Like I was going to try and do some natural language processing and see if there were certain phrases that were aligned with particular principles, for instance. And I ultimately settled on. I'm really self-conscious about this music thing, by the way. So if you guys could give me some feedback on how that's going. I'm fine with the default settings for myself, but now that I'm hearing that the game's too loud, I want to be careful of it. But yeah, so like part of it was I had like a method I wanted to learn, and I tend to find that I learn better when I have an application. And so in this case, I said, well, networks are kind of studying the relationships between nodes. And so the big thing for me was being able to define a set of interesting relationships that would, that would make for a worthwhile analysis. And in this case, the idea of, establishing an edge as basically being whether or not a card had that aspect was sort of the insight that let me do that particular blog post. And again, I was lucky in the sense that Lyrazyter has already created a lot of infrastructure for parsing the JSON of Cultist Simulator to turn it into a database, like an SQLite database. And then the next step to that was to convert that database, like basically take the rules that I had imposed and to create a network graph from that. And that was really just a question of using Python's networkx package. So a lot of the work actually wasn't so much about the programming. You have to learn the packages to get it working, but again, smarter people than me have already learned how to implement a lot of the algorithms that are used for doing those kinds of calculations. What the question really was taking this domain I was interested in, which was of course this card game, and translating it into this network structure. And from there, once I was able to do that, I was able to tap into basically all the work that those other people had done. So, and you can do that with any. I mean, you could do that with Cultist Simulator with a different definition of what a node and an edge is. You could theoretically do that with a narrative game and like all of the different story beats and all the different paths you can go through it. And you'd be able to identify sort of what these major decisions that wind up being these big branches are. And then, of course, there's some measures that you can use in terms of the idea of how free those choices are. There's lots of different applications for it, but again, it's really important that you be clear in what you're, in defining what you're looking for, because exercises like that can very quickly turn into these moments where you're just throwing data at something and then you're justifying the results after the fact. I had to be really careful that I didn't do that for myself because I didn't really know what I was looking for. Oh, you do impress us, Commanders. Something not easily done. If you ever need anything, just let me know. I'll pull some strings just for you. All right. So I think this turn I'm gonna put that to bed. Now, again, we do still need to. Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah, so they're still gonna hunt us down. This I find really weird, by the way. The fact that they are able to, like, I'm not 100% sure exactly how they are able to zero in on my commander like this. But let's try the manual combat. I've been kind of moving around on this assumption that because I have the universal camouflage, I'm not detectable. And the thing that I find a little odd is that, yes, I understand some of these things can detect, but, given the fact that I kind of moved in a certain direction, like, how did they know to look for me there is kind of the question that comes up. So I think the strategy I was going to employ in this case was I wanted to see whether or not I could just take out all the aerial units and basically like kite everyone for the whole period. Again, we got to get the extra units down as early as possible. Definitely want the infiltrator ready to take the engulfer. I am incidentally going to reset this combat if we get wiped. I am just going to see. Well, okay. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see whether or not destroying that base has the intended effect. Because the thing that bothers me is, it's one thing to lose a set of units going on a certain mission, and sometimes even something like, okay, I kind of thought I was gonna, I kind of thought I was protected from this thing I'm getting hit by. In those cases, like, well, you know what? Sometimes you just gotta learn, right? But if I pursue a target that's ultimately not gonna count, and I wind up losing everything in order to get it, that kind of leaves me feeling unusually hard done by. So oh boy. Well, at least they hurt some of their own guys. Alright, I got a bit lucky there. I am, of course, going to be looking to do as much of a stun as I can on this guy before I move my hacker out. Now, again, I got to be really careful about these guys moving around. If they catch up with me, I'm in big trouble. But if, on the other hand, I can reduce this down to an aerial engagement, I might be able to see this thing through to the end. All right, so let's just start. Well, I did say I needed to stagger, so. Good. I think I'm just going to do the one step back and then we'll... So at this point I need to kind of pile on the commander here, which is not exactly how I wanted to be spending this turn. But, you know, I got to work with what I've been given. All right, so that gives me a start. We have all our work ahead of us still, but it's not as bad as it was seeming a minute ago. All right, that was a dumb move because I've now limited the movement of my other guys. But that's life, right? Especially because I also had the jetpack available. Okay, so let's start with my infiltrator. So one thing I want to do here is the high frequency blast just to stop them from being able to do their proper sniper shot. Again, I may not have given myself enough opportunities to do this properly. Yeah, this is a particularly weak position for me here, but... Well, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's got me a little relief. I think we're just going to start off with a heal. Okay, so these guys caught up a lot sooner than I was expecting. Okay, I was not expecting these guys to be in melee range. I mean, I may have to change the approach and we just deal with the horde here now. Okay, that's a big hit. That I don't think I can afford too many of those. They're going hard after the infiltrator. So I do want to get a little information about what... So... I want to see exactly what the deal is about this connection. Alternate versions of itself, the clone unit teleports a short distance, leaving the original version behind. Clone lasts 2 turns. If the original unit is killed while cloned, the clone will remain, replacing the original unit. Okay. I wonder if there's a way of identifying which one's the clone. Yeah, this is the clone. Okay, so that's why they're letting it take so much damage. Okay, The challenge here, of course, is that the Infiltrator is in pretty dire straits. So let's start with the Reverberating Dagger, and I better hope that I stagger. Okay, good. Now, I think my aim here is to hollow shift into the Engulfer. And in this case, I actually need to move back. Which, of course, also raises the importance of taking out these aerial units. So I think in this case, we'll start with the Omni Carbine. Oh, I might be able to take them out on their own. Nope. But this should at least protect me from the Overwatch. Unfortunately, it's not enough to seal the deal on them, so I'm going to have to dedicate yet another unit, which is not great. So, maybe the Hacker can contribute in this case with their bouncing attack.
Cattle for the slaughter.
Doesn't bounce. I'm going to be a little silly on this, but I want to see if I can give them a really tasty target here. No. So yeah, this is the big thing that I'm scared about here, is I really don't want to have to use this Omni Carbine on this particular unit. But I think if I use it on anything, like, I can't really afford to lose either one of these flying units. The flying units are ultimately going to be how I carry the day, so. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I could have used that crit for anything else. Alright, let's see what the damage is.
Enemy killed.
Yeah, so they're trying to protect the weakened units. That's good they're going after the commander. As long as they can survive it, I feel okay. That's going to be a flank that I can't afford. Ouch.
Unit has fallen.
And that's the commander gone. Oh, nope, because they only get the one shot. Interesting. I'm going to be really interested to see if we survive this. Remember, we've actually got some good counters to mechanical units. Okay, so the thing I need to be worrying about right now is protecting the commander. So I'm partly trying to buy a little tempo here. I think I'm just going to go for a straight Reverberating Dagger. This does mean they're going to get flanked, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if I can maneuver my units into a slightly better position. The big challenge, of course, is that anywhere I do wind up moving them, I'm gonna have to deal with some kind of retaliation. Okay, here's how I think I'm gonna handle this. So I'm gonna move this guy around. So I believe he gets a melee overwatch. So before I go any further, I'm going to take the hacker unit, and this is just going to be to clear this guy out. Now, this is not normally how I'd want to use this unit, but again, I'm trying to maneuver for a better placement overall. Okay, good. So now what this does is this frees up my commander to. Okay, why the hell? Neither of those guys wound up staggered. That's bad. Especially because I don't think I'm going to be able to affect both of them. Okay, still seems like they... Okay, see, he's got the Overwatch. No, they both have the Overwatch. Damn it. Well, let's try and take out what we can. Damn it. Yeah, that's the commander's dead for sure.
Our leader shall return.
I'm really interested they went for these guys. Oh yeah, because they get a ton of flanks. So one of the big flaws here is what I should have been doing. I should have moved a lot more aggressively to take over these units, especially using my commander. So
Enemy eliminated.
at this point, I want to try and clean up everything that I can. Here we'll do the scrambling virus. I only need one point of movement in order to be able to do that, so I'm going to get my hacker up nice and close. Now this is going to leave them vulnerable to the air units. Looks like I didn't take it over, though. Oh, right, that's compromise. That's not... that doesn't mean I actually own it. Okay, so what pieces can I take off the board with what units? It's overall not looking good. So we'll see how this turns out. Basically, I need to see who's left at the end of this turn. Jesus. Sniper's going to be doing work. I'm not too sad about them attacking the hack. If the hacker can live, so much the better. No, that's not happening. Okay. So I think at this point I need to be a little more careful in my maneuvers.
Enemy destroyed.
At this one I don't really have much of an option on.
Enemy eliminated.
That's not a surprise that they're trying to get out of there now. I am not optimistic about that unit's ability to survive. Yeah, 10 damage on the caustic smoke. I don't see that working. So this, of course, is about maximizing the damage that we can do. But I think in this case, their ability to do damage to us next turn is just too high. Yeah, that was definitely a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. And I feel like there's a couple of things I could have done to put that in my favor. But what I do want to see, once the movement is done, I want to see whether or not I actually get the award for Siege Breaker. Because if I don't, there's absolutely no point in me keeping that unit around. All right, so I did. Brick by brick, the fortifications of our enemies are crumbling in the amplified sound cores of our war machines. Well done, General Naranga. You deserve to field the most devastating Shakarn war gear under your command.
Objective completed.
All right. Now again, I am going to take... I am going to be a bit of a scumbag and say... Now that I know they can basically zero in on my commander. And again, this is something I need to understand a little bit better in terms of how the detection works. I suspect probably to a certain extent it's not a huge mystery because, of course, if I go and I blow up the shroud generator on one turn and then, you know, I move within 1 or 2 units, like, it's probably not... It's probably not outside the realm of, you know, of possibility, you know, oh, gee, I wonder where this person is. But what I am going to do is I'm going to set it up for next turn. The biggest thing here is that, like, I'm kind of trying to figure out exactly how universal camouflage works. We know there are units within range that can mess with us. What is maybe a little bit weirder was I blew this one up and for some reason it didn't count it. And then I moved like up to luxury domains or whatever, and it's like, how did you know that? So I want to see whether or not they come after me here. We are still going to do the same moves in terms of defending our territory. But what I am kind of interested in this scenario here is it does seem to be teaching us about the benefits of raising settlements. So I am particularly interested in seeing how some of this turns out, and in particular how I deal with the fact that I'm facing a stronger enemy. But I have some circumstances under which I might be able to earn some earn some bonuses, try and push a particular advantage. But
incoming communication. Production ready.
Again, I'm definitely trying to get past the bad habits I developed with the Amazon, where I was just constantly reloading everything. Yeah, this is so weird. It's like so I'm just gonna auto combat and reload. So this is the thing that weirds me out, is it seems to be it doesn't really matter where I move. It's like I don't have that camouflage. So I'm going to try one here where I just go completely, like, way out in left field and see what the response is going to be. Now, I mean, again, there's all sorts of things that might be happening, right? So mortuary mount, forward base, the structure claims the sector for its owner, provides healing to your units. You know, in this case, no indication. Shroud detect. Oh, hang on. No, in combat within colony domain, enemy units without detection have the maximum range of their abilities reduced to 5 hexes. Yeah, so like none of these things seem to really indicate that they would be. None of these things really seem to be indicating that they would be granting detection.
Incoming communication.
That's the part that I have the hardest part, or that's the biggest point of confusion for me right now. But we'll see. I mean, again, this is a chance to learn. Okay, so these guys ran off. So the aim now is going to be I want to see if I can actually take this base, knowing that they've blinked. Okay, so something has tipped these guys off that I'm here. I have no idea what. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to move back. I mean, partly it's just a chance for me to heal up. But more importantly, I'm also able to unify some units. And if they are going to be chasing down my general, we can at the very least make them pay for it by raising one of their bases. On top of that, of course, I'm going to get the chance to blow up another Shroud generator with my more standard group. So, greetings, Naranga Odd. I have some valuable information on Iona Kalari that may be valuable to you. Iona Kalari has insulted my empire. She might do this again and is not to be trusted. I always really like this one, like the evil lizard overlord that's going to weaponize the Xenoplague really got his feelings hurt and wants to warn everyone about the possibility that they might denounce them again. Dali has given a statement that made us discover one of their personality traits, compassionate. Friend to those with low capability ranking, they are more keen to reach out to players with a low capability rating. Is that why they reached out to me? So again, I'm going to be very interested to see if that sort of... Yeah, okay, something is tipping these guys off to my existence. What I think I'm going to do in this case, I'm actually going to just run in deep. Yep, I'm fine with trespassing. I'm sure they will catch up with me there. But I do kind of want to see how that works. Autonom androids threaten carbon autonom relations. Models Emma 3, Roy 2, serial numbers 135456 AC424, 135456 AC44. Behavior out of bounds. Terminate rogue androids known as E-bots. Do you accept? Why? Okay, neutral. Now again, we may wind up overwhelmed by the enemy. I mean, one thing that would be kind of interesting is if I could set up a defense here, because it may not be the case that they can make it into the mountains, but I don't want to try and 300 it. Alright, so my guess is that they noticed these units moving closer to their enemy. Coronal mass ejection. A powerful and unexpected burst of solar matter has shot from our host star and has hit this planet. It has fried many of our electronics and superheated many tiny particles floating in the air, which char every surface they touch. Colony production is reduced by 50%. Every 2 turns during tactical combat, hot embers deal 4 thermal damage and have a 4 thermal strength chance to apply chard for 2 turns. Well, that's not terrible for me. We're going to hold back on that for a minute, just because I would like to bring along some friends. There we go. So we got to get some experience for these guys. And I'll try the auto combat. See what kind of damage. Yeah, nobody took any damage, so.
If we only crawled upon our bellies, we would never know the flavor of the birds. Grow your wings and chase them into the air. It's time to put aside your fears and rule the skies. Shinsei Bonklal, propagator pilot.
So these things do count as specialists. They're actually a fairly capable, I believe they're a fairly capable assault unit, though, so. We'll select new research. So I think I was saying that I was kind of heading down the path for additional units, but clearly 15 turns is a while to be waiting. So there's a small advantage to going for species-oriented upgrades. This is because I get a bonus towards them. The question is, can I really leverage the benefits from them right away? So propaganda propagation, I don't really think I can afford these strategic operations right now, so that's kind of a waste. Cast military applications. The impairing grenade's not bad, but I don't use grenades that often. As far as the Xeno Defense module, I mean, it's sort of... This is one of these ones, I don't know if this is the right way to be thinking about games, but one of the problems I tend to have with upgrades like this is that these seem to be mods that are designed to overcome a limitation that my species has. So like the idea here is that you've got these lower resistances, and so it makes sense, right? So if a species has difficulty with a particular thing, they may develop a technology that will help them overcome it. So if you've seen the old, I think it was like a 1980s remake of The Fly, this is the David Cronenberg one starring Jeff Goldblum. I don't think it sort of explicitly says it, but like his big motivation in generating the teleportation machine is because he gets car sick. And so clearly, developing a mode of transportation that does not involve, something that generates motion sickness is clearly very important to a scientist. Like that, there's so many cases of this kind of innovation ultimately answering individual issues. I mean, it's a little bit like we were talking about with Tall Man Alive. Why did I do a network analysis article on Cultist Simulator? Yeah, it seemed like it would fit. But number two, I really wanted to... It seemed to be an interesting branch of analysis that would help me understand other sections. So I will tell you with certainty that the tools that I learned in that that blog article, are being applied to at least 2 other projects that have nothing to do with analyzing an individual game. Like in my own case, it's just one of these things where like I don't really understand this thing that well, but I bet I can understand it better if I try and solve a problem with it. Or you have the idea defining humanity through like a tool building species and whatnot. So there's plenty of reasons why you'd sort of motivate the development of something like this. The problem I have with it is that not only do you spend time technologically to develop this modification, you also spend the resources of applying the mod, and then on top of that, you are denying yourself 1/3 of your mod slots in order to overcome the weakness of your species. So the question is, is a minus... I think it's like a -2 to resistances. Like, is a -2 to resistances worth spending 6 turns that you could be researching something better that enhances one of your abilities, and then giving up the resources to apply it, and then give up the fact that you're not going to be able to maybe stagger someone when you attack or something like that. I just feel like what this kind of technology winds up doing is it winds up costing you so much more than just accepting that you're going to be weaker to certain types of attacks. And what you should do instead, rather than just like try and paper over everything, understand what your enemy's throwing at you and come up with a better answer in terms of how you're going to try and respond to that. So if you know that they're packing a lot of arc, do you have a way of specifically defending against arc? Or do you have a way of saying that, yes, I'm going to be weak to arc, but I happen to know that I have an even better thing that I'm going to use to beat them? So I don't know. In these cases here, I always find that I think of these as very expensive band-aids, and I don't like spending too much on band-aids. Armor melt. Now this is a hard one. The bonus 10% is definitely nice to have. Hard light is also kind of nice. because of the extra stagger impact. I can definitely see both of these working. I think in this case here I'm going to go for the hard light. Being able to pile on the extra stagger strikes me as something that's really helpful.
In conclusion, knowledge is power, but being well educated has an additional benefit. No one can call you stupid, especially if you've researched weaponry that could vaporize them if they did. Dr. Millicent Rickles, head researcher, Lazulite Incorporated.
All right, so we really got that one because we wanted the these are the only kinds of sectors that we have. Again, the reason I would want to do frontier facilities is so I can finally get the infrastructure. And you know what, we can actually afford it. So yeah, I wouldn't normally have done frontier facilities, but I think being able to boost up my home base is a pretty big one right now. Also, it's been a while since so we've got two more. I probably would have wanted to extend out to Gladstone Industries, knowing that I can't do that now. Yeah. I'll annex the Pionberg ruin. Again, the hope would have been that I'd clear out Gladstone Industries, but clearly my these units are going to be waiting a while. Okay, at this point I need to get back in the game. The ideal, of course, would be that I'm able to unify both armies. It's clear that we're going to have to deal with the 12 on my main force here, but this is one of these ones where I feel like my firepower is going to be able to carry the day. And we can improve James Hankins. So, he seems to be a Void Tech fellow. Teleports to the target hex and leaves 1. Now that's not too great with his Hasher SMV. Sonic Emitter Drone damages nearby units and self-destructs after 2 turns. I can sort of see him teleporting and then dropping the drone, so that might work. Coordinated Strike. Mark an enemy unit for your forces to focus on. Target is 40% easier to hit until the end of the turn. Interesting. So let's give him Phase Shift. I will give him Coordinated Strike. And I think I'll do Steady Aim because I do tend to want to keep this guy safe. So it would have been nice to give him some like infantry, infantry bonuses and whatnot, but I think I can live with what we've got here. I'm going to keep him behind. So I'm keeping him here specifically because where are the enemies going to be coming from? They're going to be coming from here, they're going to be coming from here, and so I want to make it as difficult as possible for people to reach him in this location. So what this basically means is that, yeah, I mean, there's always the possibility that a unit will be coming in on the back, but if I move here, well, I'm moving closer to the units inside the base. If I move there, then I'm sort of making it easier for these units to come in. In this case, it's sort of as far away as I can. Oh, hang on. Maybe we meet them. I went too far. Damn it. Sorry, I needed to be a little more thoughtful. I need to make sure that I keep my units together. I have a slightly different approach that I'm gonna... I didn't even think that I had the leftover movement points, so there's a different approach that I'm gonna take here. Okay, so... I'm actually not 100% sure how this movement works, so I'm just going to say June, it's the 29th, right? One, two, three. Okay, that winds up costing too much. I'm just going to do what I did last time. What I wanted to see was whether or not I'm able to move like one unit through my own guys, and it looks like it winds up costing me extra. So I have other ways of being able to manage that. What? That's not what happened last time. So the really important thing here is I need to avoid as much damage as possible. Because I do plan on moving these units pretty aggressively after the fact. Okay, so it looks like they're setting... Oh, that's right, because we've got multiple units. Alright. Not ready for a Hollow Man. Dissonose, project a ruinous sonic attack at the target location in a 2-hex cone. Oh, that's a cool one. Alright, well, I mean, I don't want to be going out of my way to risk the propagator, but it is a fairly strong unit, so... these things... Compromised, Overload, Amplify Demon... Okay, lasts for 3 turns. This guy's really not able to do anything else, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to put him behind the car. And we'll get him to perk up the propagator. Now, the idea here is that I want this thing to... what I'm really trying to do here is, I'd ideally like to do something to sort of soften up this unit before we attack. But the other thing I'm going to be attempting to do is create something of a disincentive to stay in this position. So they of course can turn around and kill the boy, but that just means that they sort of waste that unit that turn. Then of course they can move them out, but that's kind of what I want, right? If they move forward, well then I just kind of kite them. And if they move towards me here, well, that's sort of the main strength of my force. So again, I don't feel like I don't really have to feel like I'm in a bad position. So let's... you know what? I'm going to do call... See, I feel bad about this one. I'm going to move them up 1. Call Insider's not necessarily how I would want to spend this turn right now, but if I don't do it now, I'm never going to be able to do it. And if I can get this Sleeper Agent to take as much damage as possible and not my other units, that just leaves me in a stronger position for the next turn. Unfortunately, where I'm moving is sort of lending... It's creating the situation where the enemy's likely going to start gunk throwing to do a lot of area of effect damage, but I can't be too much of a baby about it, right? At some point, somebody's going to take damage, and I just need to make sure that it's not it's not in excess of what I can live with. Okay, so I've got a fallback. Right, press the advantage doesn't become available until next turn. I am rather intrigued by the fact that I can't target these guys at this range. So what I think I'm going to do here, I'm going to set up this encounter. So basically I want these guys in a certain degree of cover. I'm making it so that the bulk of my force is focused around here. I am at some point going to have to deal with the fact that I need to shake off the absorbing pain. I mean, it might just die in a number of turns anyway. But what I'm really trying to do here is, I know there's not a lot that I can do this turn, so I'm going to at least try and have this translate into some kind of advantage. I'm curious what I just gave up there. Rallying Cry. That might have been nice to do, but in this case here, I think I'm just going to get a little pot shot off. This guy I actually don't mind moving, like, so they're not going to be able to defend themselves, but of course, if the AI is really interested in damaging them here, I'm totally fine with them moving out of position. So unfortunately, I wasn't really able to do anything to try and sort of jostle this guy loose, but at the very least, I get an enhanced shot, which didn't work. And we're boosted up for next turn. So again, no huge surprises there. I could have not grouped up my units like that, but we do have a nice flanking position now. All right, that is a lot more damage than I wanted those units to be taking.
Operations ready.
So, first things first, let's get these guys into relative safety. Okay, this is obviously too good to pass up. So I'm gonna just move for the cover first. No way! Oh, that is so irritating. Alright, well, no point in crying about it. I'm actually going to do something a little unexpected with this guy here. I mean, he is a hero, right? So, let's say I fear the Engulfer the most. So, what I need to be thinking about right now is how do I maximize the stuns that I can deliver on folks. Okay. A little surprised. Okay, it's a line of sight thing. Yeah, and I know we're going to focus on this guy. Jesus Christ. I do get one free move. The question is, do I want to take it? Definitely gives me a better shot, so I'm open to retaliation, but they're melee units, so... Alright, now what I'm most interested in is whether or not I can get a stun. No. Oh, so close to being able to do a really cool Phoenix Surge there. Alright. So at this point, this is just about setting myself up in a good position for the next turn. So in this case, we'll fire off. So again, these are always the really annoying ones. In fact, in this particular case, I don't really like putting this unit in danger. But the opportunity to be able to do some damage on this thing,
Enemy annihilated.
yeah, that was just too good to pass up. All right, so the big question with this guy is, am I able to stagger? And the answer is yes. So next up is remembering what we said about Bernoulli trials. The aim on this one here is to be able to make it so that I will maximize the number of shots that I get at this guy at the highest probability. In this case, I'm just going to move them up the 1. So it's possible that I could wind up with an even better shot if I go here, right? Notice that we've got the yellow sign relative to the green sign here. But again, not to belabor the point, but I am a little curious now that I know that it's a 45% chance. If we have 3 trials at 45, I'm just kind of curious what the chance of... I mean, again, there's other confounding factors here like grazes and whatnot, but at least one success is an 83% chance. So, I mean, again, is there the possibility that I would get one, like it's 90% here? Maybe. I mean, I don't know if there's a way that the game will tell you, tell you the exact odds. I mean, like XCOM does that. But in this case here, I'm sort of willing to take the chance. And then of course, if they all hit, so much the better. We just get that much more damage. But again, what I'm trying to do here is break the connection. So again, we got the graze, but what's important is we were able to remove the absorb pain. So in this particular case, I do want to see what Dissonose does. Well, looks like that would be wiping out... That'd be wiping out one of these 2 units. Actually, both of them are really tempting here. I think in this case, I'm gonna take out the engulf. What? Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, well, guess what? We get another crack at that. Press this advantage. Give them no quarter. So the reason I did that, of course, is that this is a melee unit. Like, they can go face to face with my Firebrand melee unit. And one of the reasons why I wanted to set it up this way is, of course, I also have the Hollow Mend. So at least one of my units will get a heal by the end of this. That's astonishing. I would have expected them to. I would have expected them to at least try and do some damage to my guys. All right. Well, let's not stand on ceremony. So first thing I want to do is put a stagger on these guys. I think in this case, well, hang on. So it's telling me that I'm going to get the attack if I do it here. I hope that's right. So this was the reason I did it with this unit is that I don't get to keep this unit after the turn. So, all right. So the question now is, if I do the Omni shot, okay, no line of sight. You suck. Okay, that's definitely not worth it. So basically, the idea here is that I wanted to make sure that I was able to open a pathway for this unit to be able to kill the Kirko. If it was going to be getting a retaliatory melee Overwatch, I wanted. Oh, you know what? I probably should have healed James, not the Shikaran Raider. Oh well. All right, so first things first, we'll move... Ooh, no, that was not what I wanted to do. All right, so I'm a little nervous about this move, if I'm completely honest, because it's possible that they may take these 11 units, and then they may also move the people out of the city to be able to attack us. Unfortunately, given where James is, I think... I'm limited in what I can do here. Let's actually save this as B, just so I don't have to redo that combat over and over again. I think we said we were going to do the hard light. And while I wouldn't normally do frontier facilities in this situation because it seems like the game is discouraging us from opening new bases, in this particular case I think there is an advantage in building up the infrastructure so I can have more units out fighting rather than defending the home front. Alright, so again, there's an argument for giving him like ground commander or air commander or something like that, but in this situation I do like the idea of the phase shift. I think I said I was going to give him steady aim and then coordinated strike so that he's more of a support. I actually tend not to have support commanders very much, but I think James is not... He's definitely not too bad in that role, I feel like. Okay, so we're going to get you to wait one turn. I think we said that Silver Tower was going to annex. So it was a hard call, right? Like, I did want to try and take Gladstone Industries, but the question I'm asking myself here is how likely is it that I'm actually going to be able to move a unit to not just ask the growth to move. The growth should be pretty easy to get out of the way with the amount of influence that I have. But actually moving all of my... Instead of fighting our enemy, the person we're at war with right now, rather than that fight... What I wind up having to deal with is moving everyone back so that I can clear out some neighbors and then claim an industrial site. That doesn't seem like the best use of my military resources right now. Hostile army was found trespassing in your domain. Alright, they're back and they want to wreck my... Oh, Jesus Christ, they're actually going for my capital. I wasn't even thinking that they would try this. We're almost certainly going to lose District 7. That's funny. I thought they ran away. So I may want to make them just have to pay with coax.
Incoming communication.
We need to rethink this relation of ours, Naranga Odd. You're an abomination, an obstacle to this planet's return to greatness. All right. So, as much as I would like to continue developing the repurposed sonoblasters, I think at this point I need to think about how I am going to protect myself. And let's just do the igniting raider. Start with one for now, and we'll carry on. And at this point, I think we accept that these sectors may be lost. We just hope that we can build enough defenses in time. We won't. I mean, there's no possible way that I'm going to be able to beat an onslaught like this, but it seems better than just sitting on my hands. Alright, something happened there. Well, I mean, it says impossible battle, but I bet we can at least take some units off of them. Okay, so I think the key, like last time, is going to be... And I actually need to follow through on this. But I think the approach that I'm going to take is to say that these are my last concern. So the secondary goal is going to be to take out as many of these frenzied as possible. And what I want to do is take out the Transcendent first and the flying units. Also, in particular, what I'm interested in is if I can get this guy to become if I can get them to become an engulfer. I'm willing to sacrifice quite a bit in order for them to become an engulfer, in fact. So I chose this cover just because I want to be forward-facing against the aerial units. This is just an unfortunate little bit of placement. They're not in cover, but like I said, I want to close the distance as much as possible to the engulfer. And I suppose the one bit of good news would be that this guy will be able to provide some overwatch. What I do want to be careful about is to make sure that I'm not in a position where the AI can sort of gunk us both. So I think the drawback... no, you know what? I am going to move up like this, because where they're going to gunk will be either here or here. So it's very unlikely that this is actually gonna work. I wasn't even thinking about the gunk until too late. All right, that is kind of interesting that they decided to protect that unit. Again, the more distance I can put myself between myself and these units, the better. There is a side of me that would love to try and take these, try and take out these explosive areas, but I just don't think it's worth it. We are going to be overwhelmed by these guys. The question is how much damage. Like, so priority number 1, we need to eliminate units, because eliminated units can't heal. Secondary is to do as much damage as possible to a unit. And the reasoning for that is I want to be able to... Okay, how far can these guys move? All right, so this guy is in range for an attack. Again, what I want to be focusing on... hang on. I need to remember I can't stagger these guys. I have to do Omnirush. Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to take a different approach on this. This is basically sacrificing this unit right here. No way! Oh, I'm so angry about that. Ugh! I kind of wish there was a better way. I feel like XCOM 2 handles informing you. So I kind of think an undo button is really what this game needs. I know the arguments against implementing one. I'm not convinced at all by them. But yeah, I think an undo button would kind of allow you to, and like the thing is just if you see something you're not supposed to, you lose the undo. I think that's kind of the standard way that games like this handle that situation. Second best, I think, again, an XCOM 2-like system which will let you know what the odds are when you make a move against a particular kind of unit. I feel like there is some utility in that as well. Anyways, I'm going to stop whining about it because... And what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and call the bluff. I'm going to say, yes, you can potentially gunk my 2 valuable units, but it does mean that I get a free shot on you.
Operations ready.
Okay. It's kind of interesting that they didn't actually go for the shot. It is very tempting to move this unit up and shoot the Transcendent. I just think the cost is losing one of my better... The cost is losing one of my better shots in order to do that. So this is going to be a very risky move because they can gunk this flying unit, but I'm going to hollow shift the Engulfer. So I actually need to start delivering the damage on this guy. So yeah, the question is taking out the Engulfer worth more, or is breaking the connection? You know what? I think I'm still going to break the connection. What? I can't believe... Oh, I should have checked that before. All right. I'm just going to live... I got to live with it. Undo is spelt load game. I will confess to being more than a little annoyed with how that particular ability works. Oh, this is not a good position to be shooting from at all. Okay, I'm gonna get overwhelmed one way or the other. We're not gonna take out any units doing this. This is a disaster. I think at this point I'm just going to accept my fate. Nah, this isn't worth. If it makes the difference between like killing a unit and not, I'll maybe take it. But all right, I wasn't expecting Arc. Oh, you know what? I think dimensional instability is going to be a pain in the ass on this. Wow, that's a lot of damage. No. All right. Yeah, I was hoping again. Like the cost for taking this territory is I got to take a unit off of them, but the question is which one. Okay, we'll go for the weak. Jesus Christ.
Enemy destroyed.
Just in case.
Weakly.
I'm kind of surprised that doesn't count as a flank. I know the AI has some very liberal interpretations as to what counts. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I'm dead anyway, but what I was really hoping was that I could do the caustic,
Shall retreat for now.
the caustic cloud on them. I can't believe I had to give up a tactical operation in order to be able to, to kill one unit. Let's see if we can do better on this one. I can see why they rated this with the difficulty that they did. Now, I think one important thing for me to remember with the... Or hang on, maybe there isn't a commander here. Yeah, that's just a chemist. So yeah, I think we're going to apply the same... I think we're going to apply the same strategy here, which is we go to kill a unit, and at this point, I'm not actually that concerned about what type of unit it is. You know, a Transcendent would be kind of cool to get because of the extra healing and whatnot, but in the end, I just think the amount of damage that they can do is going to be enough to heal through whatever. Or sorry, it's going to be they're going to be able to do enough damage to mitigate whatever whatever healing I can put on my own guys. So. Gonna sort of run into the back here. This is not my favorite move to do with an infiltrator, but I think all of my other options leave me open to too many area of effect attacks. Now, if they decide to hold back a little bit, taking over this guy and making them pay, you know, in the form of artillery would be an option. I don't think they're going to do that, though. They have enough. Their numbers are enough to be able to cause some serious hurt. All right. So the question is, how am I gonna damage them? I know whatever choice I make is going to result in some very heavy damage to this unit next turn. But again, we can't sit and wait for them to come forever. So like this is a huge problem because they're not behind cover. But again, if it's melee attacks, cover doesn't really count for anything. I am surprised at how weak these units are. But I suppose it's because I haven't modded them. Yeah, I'm getting lucky with the hits at least. So I may have to wind up taking a frenzied in, you know, in a pinch. Ugh. We may not even take the unit down now.
Necessary loss.
So it seems to me the right call here is to, again, to transform into the flying unit because they're using up all of their range on my sniper. If the sniper can get one last shot off on the... Oh, blinded's not good. Wow. I mean, I gotta just hope for the best. Yeah, no surprises there. Yeah, so I think it's pretty safe to say we're not taking anything off of them. Jesus.
Eternal glory.
That was not a very respectable showing. Wow, I really need to get one of these guys. Though that is a pretty awesome range on a... Oh, they're staggered to death. Alright, well. This might actually be a scenario I need to reset. Because, like, this... You know, the whole point of these stands was to try and take units off of them. We succeeded in taking one off of that force. And that's basically going to be what is defending our capital world. And it seems to me, brick by brick, the fortifications of our enemies are crumbling in the amplified sound cones of our war machines. Well done, General Naranga. You deserve to field the most devastating Shakar war gear under your command. Supermoons. Supermoons have always had superstitions tied to them, but the empowering of psionics turned out to be true. Times like these are always a good excuse to study their mental powers closely, or they just hope that they leave you alone. Improved astrological research circumstances will result in 100% increased science income. Every 2 turns during tactical combat, a wave of psionic energy washes over the battlefield that has a 4 psi strength chance to apply Broken Mind.
Objective completed.
Now, I'm going to guess that the refractor shows up in the home base. So, as far as movement is concerned, I don't see us getting where we need to be in time. So, I'm going to just evacuate this thing right away. So, it seems like there are 4 units worth of... Wow, that is a very, very large army. So if they've got 4 stacks here, and then 4 stacks in the capital, and I know those are full ones, That is alarmingly strong. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're resetting this campaign. Alright. See what auto combat turns up. I'll take it.
Objective completed.
Given the fact that they've sort of united their units, I think at this point I kind of need to... At this point I think I just need to recover my my base, but... Greetings, Noraga Odd. I have some valuable information on Nicole Christus that might be valuable to you. Nicole Christus has insulted my empire. Nicole Christus might do this again and is not to be trusted. Autonom wants energy. Yeah. Can't afford to have
Our
enemies.
colonies require the means to protect themselves and a reason to stay. At the very least, it's time to invest in some good old-fashioned guns and beer.
Okay, so at least I got the military infrastructure down now. I'm gonna have to act as if we're gonna be surviving the next couple of turns. So let's say here, covert infiltration. I definitely need to start running some tactics against, or some strategic operations against my enemies. We don't have any good offensive strategic level abilities. Now, of course, this was because we were at a negative income, which we are now again. I mean, it's not like we're actually going to be doing this, but I suppose I can set up, and we'll set up standard military infrastructure. I think at this point we just go all in. That is going to cost us more than we can afford. But again, this is assuming that we survive that long anyway. Alright. Nothing for him to do. Can we talk about this? Can't offer truce.
Sector annexed.
Well, I mean, I suppose as a last-ditch effort, I would much rather spend these resources in a more sort of determined. So, like, you know, this is basically going to be me just so to speak, me trying to set up some form of defense in my capital world. It would be much better if I could have these in conjunction with other units in the area. But let's throw what we can at the problem. And I'm not even going to bother with poison glands or anything. We're just going to load up on extra units. Obviously, this is a huge cost, but I suspect these will not be around for a while. Or in a while, so. Alright, let's see this disaster unfold. So if the attack on the base comes, it's not this turn. Why are they being merciful? Because they know I threatened them with uninstallation if they acted out too much. Okay, so this is basically in range of the capital if I want to bring my other units in. Now, of course, the danger here is that these guys are now prime target. These guys will be able. Oh, actually, they're not in range. They are in range of the capital world, but that's some useful information actually. So if I bring them. I move the... This is my understanding, at least. If I put this unit here, they are not able to... They're not able to reach it. Autonom wants Cosmite. Yeah. I'd rather not,
Lasers
but...
are fast, accurate, and leave no bloody mess. Just the delicious smell of fried bacon. Mark McNash, CEO, Lays Tech.
It would be great for me to be able to equip units with these, but I may not be able to afford it. Alright, so non-refracting lasers, shield overheat, disabling shields per hit. and a 12 strength chance to apply charge. So let's just see what we're up against. We definitely know shields are a thing with the swarm, but these guys are definitely more on packing the armor, which means the armor melting attacks are slightly more useful. So if I wanted giving these guys the hard light, actually, given the fact that we're being outnumbered, outnumbered on a lot of these ones, applying disoriented seems like the better. So hard, well, yeah, hard light systems is that is actually a pretty good improvement. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. This unit gets that wait. Yes, okay, they're not going to be engaged in combat, so this guy gets it for sure. I need to be very careful about which units I apply this to. Oh, actually, no, we said... Okay, no, these guys can be attacked, which means I can't modify them.
Everyone needs an excuse to do what they wanted all along. They have stuff that we want. Who decided they get to keep it just because they got there first? Zerera Tan of House Voyan, diplomatic consort.
Okay, so... Operational effectiveness will let me do more per turn. It's actually very hard for me to argue against taking this right now because any of the other choices at the moment are protecting against attacks that are not coming, and they are improving territory that I don't have. Vengeance is vine. We demand action. They came from the skies, tore our saplings out by the roots, weaving them into their nests. Murderers used our dried bodies as their shelter. Who would do that? Surely you will avenge our loss. Okay, military research. There is an argument at this point for going down synthesis so that I can basically just get stuff faster. Sound augmentation will get me 12 strength for resonance or reverb. I wish I understood these modifications a little bit better. Let's go to... I wanted to say short-term thinking, but honestly getting another firebrand, that's not
Incoming communication.
terrible. I was expecting more diplomatic efforts from you, Naranga Odd. Are you really seeking to maintain relations? Actively engage in diplomacy to maintain relations. That's right. That came in the new patch. So this is basically giving you a reason to not to neglect your allies.
Incoming communication.
Commander's opinion of you is changed by 200 due to their personality trait. This is telling me I can do it, right?
Production ready.
Okay, yeah, I was like, wait a minute, there's no way I have that. Now here's a question. Do I rush this? It's 160. Well, okay. Can't really afford it, but this helps us defend the homeland.
Operations available for priming.
And yeah, it seems to me there's really nothing to... There's really no argument to be made for spending my limited resources on any more of this, so... Let's see what the AI throws at me. Yeah, no surprises there. All right. What is interesting, though, is the number of flying units we have relative to theirs. This has never helped me in the past, but let's see how much hurt we can do. More importantly, I want to see what the consequences for losing this. Now, here is a question I'm very interested in. If I do Hollow Shift, enemy non-hero unit, so I can't do this to steal an extra awesome unit. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to focus entirely on the right-hand side of this battle. So I'm even going to forego the Overwatch I normally try and get with these guys. So basically I'm moving everything to the right. We're going to try and capture the Engulfer if I can. We're going to take out the Transcendent. And the key here is to get as many aerial units as we can, and then to take out, or basically, number one, we got to take out all the aerial units. Number two, we need to take out the ranged units. And then the hope is, again, the recharge on the gunk thrower means that we don't really have any hope of seeing this thing through. But if I can, like, even if it's a hopeless situation, like, what I want to be doing is I want to at least be thinking about an approach that will, that would maximize my outcomes as much as I can. So, like, obviously in this case I'm saying, okay, well, defense doesn't really mean anything because traditionally the AI hasn't used this first turn to be able to get shots off. And it's better for me to just run into some interesting cover locations and wind up in a situation where I'm going to be able to take advantage of my I'm going to be able to take advantage of my my privileged placement for certain units to achieve the objective I'm looking for. I did neglect to think about how the Corrosive Spit will change the fight, though. That might actually get me some interesting results. Again, the hope here is that we get the Engulfer before it dies. The other nice thing is, of course, the Worker Bee is going to be able to heal the other units. So I'm going to keep them in reserve. They're actually a fairly respectable fighter as well, but they're able to heal up some flying units. Now the big question here is when do I want to put down the beacon? Because of course if I put down the beacon too early, it doesn't do anything. If I put the beacon down too late, that means that's a turn I could have been doing damage. But it's definitely not this turn that I want to be doing that. So. Okay, that's a reasonably intelligent choice to protect their aerial units. So this has already screwed up my plan to try and take them all on the right-hand side. The other big challenge, of course, is how I'm supposed to be able to take out that Transcendent at the back.
Operations ready.
Okay. What? That is ridiculous. Okay. So one ace I have in the hole with the propagator is that given how clustered everybody is, the Dissonance is going to be a pretty devastating attack. What is very clear, though, is that they have no interest in playing along with my overall strategy. So, two can play at that game. I'm going to move everyone back. The only catch is that I don't get the Engulfer. But I suppose that also means that they're not bringing the Engulfer into combat, so... I should also remember not to cluster my units after this turn. So I think one drawback with this approach, of course, is that these guys are in a really, really bad spot. They move remarkably slow. But again, we're not really taking advantage of Overwatch here. And of course, these guys are in a tight spot too, just based on the fact that we've changed the approach. But yeah, I mean, at this point here, they've moved in a way that makes the approach that I wanted to take not viable anymore. And so we are going to pull back, and we will... What I want to try and do is force a confrontation where they move into a position where we at least get a first opening round of shots on them. Again, it's unlikely that we're going to be able to defend the city. But at least, in my view, the second best is we take down as many units as we can, so that assuming we don't just outright lose, which I think you need to lose your commander and your home base. Assuming that we don't get just completely destroyed this turn, or this after this combat. If we can make it so that I'm in a better position to retake the city, I'll do that. I will say I am not completely opposed to the idea of restarting this campaign, simply because I think we wound up going to war a lot earlier than I was expecting. Got lucky there. Actually, we also got lucky in the fact that I'm going to be able to claim that Engulfer. I think they got a little too eager. Yeah, there's some interesting possibilities opening up here. All right. So what I want to get an idea of right now is what's the furthest these guys can move. So first decision is going to be how close do I need to be in order to be able to take this Engulfer? Okay, so the second question is, so one, I can try and cause some pain. It's really not close enough to be worth it. So in this situation here, I just move back. Okay. So what I want to be focusing on right now is, so this line, so basically a line right along here, And then sort of outside of these areas, this is what I want to be focusing on in terms of where the enemy units can attack me. So these guys in particular, I'm interested in setting up reasonably far away. It'd be nice if I could get them behind cover, but I think that's a little too much to hope for. So I'll at least set them up for this attack. Yeah, so if I move within shooting range, then these guys aren't able to do anything. I think we'll just hold the line. These guys, on the other hand, need to run back. And like I said, the one rather important consideration is minimizing the number of minimizing the clustering. So I'm okay having one empty tile between the aerial units because, to my frustration, I'm not able to get an area of effect attack in midair. But outside of that, I want to make sure that my aerial units... These ones I'm kind of okay. I'm okay kind of keeping the aerial units close enough to my my infantry. This is the worker bee, so I want to keep them relatively safe. So yeah, I don't mind kind of having a support line so that when we know it's time to engage, we're ready. You know, one thing, I want the soldier bee, I want the unit below it. Okay, so I'm gonna give him something to think about. Oh crap, no, I should have moved this unit too. Alright, this thing's almost certainly gonna die, but it might let them waste their gunk, so... That was definitely a blunder, though. I shouldn't have moved them like that. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have put that down. I should have moved them and then put that down. Now, there's a really big question that I have about whether or not I want to move this guy. They're not in an area of effect worry. I suppose I'm interested to see if they can do any damage. So if they move there, then they're susceptible to melee attack. I think in this case I'm just going to keep them out in the open like this. I'm kind of curious to see how they respond. I spent so much time worrying about the clustering for everything else that I didn't even think of the fact that these guys had a tile between them. That's definitely gonna cost me a lot.
Unit has fallen.
Wow, they're doing my work for me. All right, that was something I was hoping to avoid, but
This is a loss.
so I don't see the aerial approach working anymore. That engulfer just took too much damage. But I have some ideas about what to do. We're not going to win, but we're, you know.
Necessary.
I'm fascinated that they're not going for that one last unit. Oh, once this guy comes in, that's gonna hurt. So the reason I haven't sped up this one is I actually kind of want to get an idea about what the AI is trying to do here. So this guy's clearly not going to make it. So the aim at this point is really just to find the most effective way of going out. The chip damage that I'd be doing on any of these guys really isn't worth that much. Well, I mean, it's 50% chance. Well, I might as well do. And he missed. All right, screw it. But what kind of... Wow, these things are not that strong. Okay, we'll pick off whatever's weak. Although I need to keep moving back and doing that.
Enemy down.
So, question I should be asking here, whether or not I want to move before doing this. I don't think I do, though. I think I just want to spit up as much as I can. And this is a chance for me to also drop the big boom. Okay. I think in this case I'm going to accept that we're going to be overrun, and again the aim on this one is just going to be to try and maximize the damage that I do to individual units. So especially anything that's sitting in the goop right now is a prime target. That's a perfect example.
Enemy killed.
I was not expecting that. That's a little irritating, but I believe Sting is a melee attack, so I don't want to be bringing this guy in quite yet. Yeah, I mean, I need to be performing a bit better than that, but at least we killed some units.
Down.
Alright, they gotta explain to me why they're allowed to do area of effect. This is actually... So, I really, really like Age of Wonders Planetfall, but every once in a while it really feels like the AI is able to do stuff that I'm not able to. So, for instance, remember how I said I was keeping my aerial units one space apart because I have not found a way to be able to do... I've not found a way to be able to do this, like, one... How do I put it? I haven't been able to, like, target the air in between. It really looks like the AI just did that with that attack. I try not to complain too much about stuff like that, but it's definitely one of these cases where if it feels like your opponent is able to play by different rules than you, then it really puts a damper on it. I mean, again, I knew we were going to lose this anyway, so it's kind of a moot point, but it goes from a, you know, I expected this lost and accept it with a certain degree of grace, and turns it into, I'm actually really annoyed that I lost this particular way. So it seems to me the goal here should be to mop up whatever weak units there are. This guy's going to get hit by 2 overwatches as soon as he does something, so I need to do whatever chip damage I can. And I also, in particular, I need to focus on units that have gotten... Yeah, now we'll focus on this guy.
Unit lost.
Okay, so for starters...
Enemy killed.
So 50%. At this point, what I'm doing here is I'm dealing expected damage. So if there's a 50%, I'm going to take that. If there's something like... Yeah, so this is the best. Again, probably Overwatches coming up, but... Actually, I could have prevented at least one of the Overwatches that affected him, but... Alright. I don't want to get too reckless. There's nothing that stops me from being able to move back a little bit on some of these. I needed better than a graze on that. Oh no, we still killed him. Say again, wherever I can, if I can take out something that's potentially a threat in future, I'd really rather not attack that. I'd rather just move over that, and there does not seem to be any way to do that. Again, another example of something that's not the end of the world, but boy, do you feel kind of hard done by when something like that comes up. Okay, I'm going to save this unit for later. This is a relatively strong one. I would want to heal this unit, but it's flanked right now. Yeah, we'll do our best. Or not. So this is ripe for an AoE hit. I suppose I could try and give it a little extra life to some of my other guys, but I think what I'll do instead... we already know there's going to be AoE out my ears, but why did my attack suddenly become so bad? That's another example of a case where I wouldn't have done something if it had told me differently. Okay, again, I want to take as many pieces off the board as I can, which means expected damage. Well, no, at this point, let's... Alright, I don't know how that happened, but I'm glad that it did. I should also at some point consider... So they'll die as they move through the smoke.
Enemy eliminated. Unit down.
Yeah, this is where the air core gets shredded.
Unit lost.
The heal was a waste. Although maybe at this point we swarm the Engulfer. Yeah, let's try that. Okay, this guy's only got melee attack. Oh, interesting. So he can't... Oh, it's because he can't reach it because of Broken Mind. Alright. Not ideal, but let's damage what we can. Oh, that's right. Life drain, too. Alright. I mean, I can drop a heal, but I also have the chance to just take this thing out completely. Alright. I'm gonna move... No, you know what? I'm gonna stay put. So I suspect probably that's going to be enough to take out my the propagator's going to get taken out next turn. If not by the gunk, then at least by the barrager or barrager. Let's see what happens.
Unit lost. Unit lost. Our forces have been defeated.
All right. Not my finest hour. What do we take off of them? So 5, 6, 7 units. And then, of course, they got my home base, which is a problem. What? So I guess there's two halves to... I don't quite understand what's going on here. I don't see any point in fighting that out, so... Alright. Headquarters lost, convert a colony to HQ, or regain control of the previous HQ. Yeah, so... We knew that was coming. Now the drawback, of course, is it's still going to take us a while to actually get this done, and they're almost certainly going to be reinforcing while that happens. This does not really seem like the best use of my military right now, but it's something that I can do at the moment, so... And nothing took too much damage, so...
Objective completed.
Unfortunately, my commander is one space away, but I don't think they have enough range to be able to take us out here, so...
Empire task completed.
Energy shortage. I'm curious what the consequences are for this. Oh, okay, low morale because we lost. Yeah, so the game just... the game just pulverizes you for for losing your base, as it should. It would be interesting if you get a morale bonus to try and recapture the headquarters, but we'll see. We'll see if that actually happens. If nothing else, this will be educational for how loss works. So again, I want to move this as a unit. We'll see whether or not we get abandoned. I can't really afford that Cosmite, but I can't really afford to have an enemy like that either.
Incoming communication.
You'll need to rethink this relation of ours, Naranga Odd. In you, I see the same frightful stare of a prey animal. You scamper about this world, claiming whatever meager scraps you can. Prey do not lead. They do not prosper. They are hunted. This commander's opinion is changed by -100, and I've gained 3 for them being mean.
Communication.
Deli is very happy to see someone. They're compassionate, so they're super happy to see me flat on my back. Oh, you do impress us, Commander. Something not easily done. If you ever need anything, just let me know. I'll pull some strings just for you. Let's just leave that be. So I think we're actually going to need to wait yet another turn before we can recover my HQ. We'll see if I still have an army by the end. So I'm going to move my commander as far up as I can. The AI, of course, has had plenty of time to heal up its units. I'm curious if they're going to be the one to initiate the fight here. All right, let's see if we can get. Sure, I'm not even reading what that is. I've got other stuff to worry about. I suppose I'm at least glad that the Chancellor is making some progress on the enemy. It does, of course, deny me the ability to gain some of those bonuses for, raising their bases and whatnot, but that'll at least give me some breathing. Wow. That's what my enemy was packing. So yeah, I mean, the great thing about this is, assuming... Oh, for fuck. I just lost a really, really strong unit. I also got to make sure that this is all properly lined up. I mean, it says low risk battle. I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose stuff if I say auto combat. Not that much, but enough. Like, I don't want to lose the refractor, so let's see how it goes. I wonder if they get my my barracks or my my support units that I put in. I have a feeling I'm going to do worse than the AI on this, but let's see. Again, I'm starting. I think I'm feeling the sillies come in, but let's see what we can pull off. As I'm fond of saying, sometimes a good way to learn a game is just to get clobbered by it. If I do need to reset this campaign, the first thing I'm going to learn, or the first thing I'm going to do, I need to definitely make sure that I don't declare war until absolutely necessary. And when I do declare war, I need to make sure that I am... Like, I have a very, very clear idea of exactly what I'm... Like, kind of what the stakes are, what I'm trying to accomplish. So in this case, I want sort of a... I want a little bit more of a numerical advantage here. Now, I suppose the next question is, what kind of a unit do I want to steal? I can become a... Oh, a blade mod. Oh, that's right, because we auto-combat some of this. So there's no mechanical units for me to deal with. It's basically a horde of... It's a horde of Kirko. So yeah, this is an interesting question. Am I capable of... No, okay, here's what I gotta do. Looks like they're moving aggressively with these guys, so what I am going to do is I'm going to set myself up in some kind of cover if they go the full distance. The rest of it, though, do the civ trick of parking a death stack of units on the border of an ally, then declare war when they have no way of fighting back. Yeah. This game, I don't think that's, like, impossible to do, but the Casus Belli system definitely makes that a little bit harder. So if you declare war without a count, I mean, like, that's in Civ too, but, like, definitely I feel that this game does a slightly better job of making that less of an appealing strategy. I mean, the other thing for me about Civ is, like, you know, sometimes you really want someone to declare war because you know that's how you're going to be able to get a whole lot of extra land. I'm playing really passively here, and I can't afford to, but I think I need a little more clarity as to what the AI is gonna try and do. So at this point here, I'm just gonna set myself up. I don't have that much longer to stream, but I actually kind of need to go to the bathroom. I wish I was better at doing this before the stream, but I did just finish recording a... Oh, I forgot. We don't have a lot of morale here. I definitely should have taken... I actually should have taken the AI's approach, losing 2 units to that with that low of a morale. Okay, anyways, I'm definitely going to see this battle through, but I am definitely feeling a little... I'm feeling the pressure, so I'll be back in just a couple minutes. All right, sorry about that, guys. I'm actually also sorry about the lower energy at the end here. Again, because I was recording a Morrowind episode just before this, it actually feels like I've been casting for about, I don't even know, like 6-7 hours. So I'm probably gonna have to wrap it up after this encounter. But I am kind of curious to see where this all goes. So let's put a brave face on it for the end. I am, however, like I said, at this point, I want to see what the AI does. And I don't think there is a huge cost to... So if I stay put the whole time, then they're just going to defend their position. And I won't really accomplish a whole lot. But... I think there is something to be said for getting an idea of exactly where they want to... Like, where... I kind of want an idea of where they are going to put the most effort. If they don't do anything, then it's clear to me that I have to make the first move, and then, you know, that's fine. I have ways of doing that. But at the very least here, I can sort of get some positions. I can let my cooldowns get by. So for instance, the Tactician, just moving him straight towards the rest of the army. There's no reason for me to keep these guys disparate. Now the Refractor, this is a new unit. I've never used one of these before. So Sonic Ebb looks like a strong sonic attack. It gains a stack of Ebb, up to 2 stacks. Doesn't say. This is one thing, the other thing about the tooltips. It'd be nice if I got an idea of exactly what Ebb was without having to go to the database each time. And then Sonic Flow, Fire, Sonic Burst at the target. Ebb stacks modify this ability. Each Ebb consumed increases damage by 10% and the hex radius by 1. Okay, so you set basically you turn enemies into time bombs is what I think that ability is all about. So yeah, we'll see. This is definitely going to be a messy fight. But it does look like they're committing to the right-hand side, and so I want to set myself up accordingly. Man, I really need to remember to start checking for gaps like that. That's going to be very costly. But I bet I'm going to be able to steal that guy. Wow! That... No, well, that's fair range. Yeah, so this is my first, like, huge blunder. In fact, given the number of stuns that this unit just took, it's possible I may not be able to steal the Barrier after all. There's definitely some stuff we can do, though. So, first things first. Can I get away with stealing? No, this is the one unit I can't steal. That is so frustrating. So, against my better judgment, I am going to move them up like this. And it's mostly just because they've moved all of their other units into positions where this isn't as threatened. Now, I think I have a pretty clear candidate for where the beacon goes. I should have done that with the other unit, though. Doesn't matter. So clearly here we want to decimate these guys for their really aggressive move. Now, I also suppose the next question is, like, am I actually able to do enough damage to all these units in time? And I think the answer to that is no. But I will try my best, damn it.
Enemy destroyed.
Okay, so I can drop a grenade if I want. Asher SMG will do some respectable damage. The question is whether or not I'm going to have enough to be able to finish the job. Answer is no. But let's see what... Okay, so I'm able to do 3 shots. I clearly want to take the opportunity. So I suppose the question now is, what kind of damage can I do on this side of the equation? There is, of course, the big challenge with the fact that these guys are going to get flanked by an anti-air unit after doing this move. But I have some ideas. So first things first, let's do amplification. So if I'm able to attack this unit from this range, this means I at least get the 2. that kind of sucks, but... now these guys, I suppose the best I can hope for here is to get a quick stun. And it seems to me that maybe we want to just try... Okay, so we failed to stun that guy, so let's... Guy's pretty resistant. Okay, not quite time for that move yet. Again, I want to keep aware of the fact that my movements can cause people to get AoE. Well, the AoE is coming no matter what. I do want this guy up sort of in the front lines. God, it is so tempting to hit this one for the stagger. I think I'm still going to focus on this unit, though. Okay, now the question is, can I get away with press the advantage? One of us all along is also going to be one that I want to try and take advantage of. I feel, though, that... I sincerely hope this works. Okay, well, this is really the only unit that they can target. I'm gonna wait a minute on this. Interesting. There is definitely a side of me that's interested in trying this ebb thing on them, but that's really not going to gain me a whole lot over here. So you know what? I'm just going to keep the... if I phase shift, that doesn't really get me a whole lot. Yeah, I think in this case we're just going to... We're going to move everyone around the side. Yeah, so... Well, okay, here we go.
Enemy down.
Okay, that was respectable. We may be losing our infiltrator, unfortunately, but... Oh, hang on, they get a heal, so... It's not as bad as it seems. That's going to be a gunk. I probably should have anticipated that, but... what I'm going to be most interested in is whether or not this thing drops a blinding. Ooh, I was kind of hoping that they would resurrect, but it looks like they only resurrect when they have a disguise. I probably would have known that if I bothered to read the description, but... this unit I'm not scared about losing because it's a free one. It looks like they're really nervous about it, so... Okay. This is not terrible. He says as the as the morale effects hit. Again, I want to try and clear this guy out. Jesus. Alright. So I want to avoid the overwatch if I can. A grenade would not be out of place here. Unfortunately, there's no way of making it do what I want. So the question is there a better move that I can beat? Okay, no, you know what? The answer is let's ignore this unit right now. Let's focus instead on aerial attacks.
Enemy killed.
So kind of focusing on the ground game first. We need to clear that out before... Especially, too, because, of course, the aerial units are defended by the Transcendent, and I don't think I have the... I really don't think I have the firepower to be able to help with that right now.
Enemy destroyed.
Okay, so this is a fairly important mission if I can get the stagger on this guy. That's a really low chance, though. I'm assuming it's because they're blinded? No, it's because they're crippled? Yeah. Alright, well, we'll move them up. Yeah, well. Can't expect the world. So, of course, every worry that I have now is going to be about whether or not the AI is going to be able to target certain characters. So, let's start with... does this do a stagger? Oh, it's not close enough. Of course, I can move them to make it close enough, but how about we just target with the autocannon? That sucks. So I kind of need to put these guys on a bit of a suicide mission to try and deal with Oh, Jesus Christ, I need them to stop staggering. I'm wasting so much on this. Unbelievable. Okay, well, new approach. We just hit it for as hard as we can and take out his ally. Not great. I can pull one of these guys back. I don't think I'm ready to do that, though. I'm going to try and zip this guy around to avoid any area of effect attacks, though. Yeah, that's... This is not the time I really wanted morale to be an issue. Alright. So, of course, the drawback here is we spent so much to try and clear that. I think the weakest side of my force right now is the left hand. Yeah, just overall I'm not doing enough damage, and that was probably, you know, on reflection, it was so clearly the better choice to, you know, to just keep hitting the... Okay, so we're going to get hit by an acorn here, but again, I got to do whatever damage I can. And morale screws me again. Alright. Let's see what we lose. Hacker unit's hard to replace. Alright, well, we knew that was coming at some point. That's a lot of damage on a commander. I guess at least they didn't get more than one. Okay, so we got to think a little bit about what our best replies are going to be here. So So obviously I want to get out of the danger zones for these things. I think if I can, stagger's most important. I am opening myself up to flanks from the barrager and whatnot, but again, I gotta work with what I've been given. Unbelievable. Jesus Christ. That's my commander I'm hitting in the back. Well, at least they fumbled. I am still not actually able to... I'm going to lose this commander.
Enemy destroyed.
We work with what we got, so... I better hope I stagger this guy. No, they reply and I lose the shot. Alright, gotta get out of the cloud. Doing so almost kills my unit though, so... we focus on aerial combat instead. And fail to accomplish anything. So good news is this thing's staggered. Bad news is, of course, that this guy is still in sort of melee range, and it's not a lot that he can do to get saved. What I am interested in here is, so these guys don't actually have that much range. That's sort of their, this is a drawback with them playing it safe with their units. I've also reserved a jetpack, which I think, damn, it's not quite where I need it, but I'm still gonna do my best. You know, if I got a hero crit there, that could have been something really magical. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do. So again, I have less to fear about these guys right now. And I'm going to design my turn around that.
Enemy down.
Okay. So I got to think about the sources of danger right now. I think we've got... So this guy's available, as is the propagator. Now the fact of the matter is this thing is not that threatening at the moment. Now they might turn around and take out the commander. That's going to suck. But it seems to me here taking out the barrager is the highest priority.
Enemy killed.
And actually... Aha! Wait, cannot be affected? Tier 1 or Tier 2 infantry. Frenzied will work. Okay, this thing... Yeah, it is a high impact stagger, so... Alright. Let's see what disasters befall us next. Alright, they're clearing out the scout.
Gamma falls for the Empire.
So as long as we win this battle, he'll be back. That's not the end of the world. This is a bit painful, but I think being locked in with the commander, which I know I'm going to get back, is less of a worry. I think in this case, I'm going to just focus on doing as much damage as possible. This is an incredibly good unit. I definitely need to be more active with them in the future. So the idea here is that this unit probably won't be dying this round. So if I put them in a risky position, it's not as big of a deal. Okay, that's good. So now I can tie up the Grenadier with a sleeper agent. Now, before I go too crazy, I don't know about this, but it does give them a better shot, and they don't have too much to worry about on this side. So what I want to be kind of thinking about right now is sort of the balance of the balance of worries. So this guy does have a reasonably powerful static shot, and it's a repeating one. So, you know, it's not nothing to have him out and around. So I think in this case, a few staggering hits to at least reduce it so that it's a single pop is enough for me. Cool. Okay, so much the better. Because, like, in the end here, if this guy, even if they get 3 repeats, 3 repeat rending claws, in this case it would only be 2 because they're already staggered, but on my commander still lives. Pretty much anybody who's going to die has died in this fight now. Whereas, you know, 3 psionic hits it's a pretty... That is a reasonably serious bit of damage. So I guess the question here is, do I think the sono... No, the sono repeater can potentially kill the frenzy, so we clear that out, and that might leave my commander open to take out the furry friend. Yeah, close. Not quite enough to see the... Oh, hang on. He will protect his milady. There you go. Hang on, there are enemy units around?
Superior once more.
No, I wasn't even paying attention. So we lost 3 units. One of them special. A lot of them were special. But I gotta accept my incompetence. And that, wow, that doesn't give us our HQ back. Yes, that does. Okay, that was pretty devastating.
Operations available for prime.
All right, guys. Like I said, I'm sort of sorry that the energy was a bit lower on this. I hope that was at least entertaining in a way. There's obviously quite a few people here, which I'm happy for, but I think there's probably more than a few who are just enjoying the audio. But thank you for watching. I will admit, one thing I really don't like doing is taking the view, and I know, like, from the Amazon run, it's kind of hard to give the impression that I'm not like that. I definitely don't like, okay, well, everything didn't go my way, so I'm just going to restart the run. Is Planetfall better than Age of Wonders 3? Well, Wesley Kressler, it's a hard one to answer. Maybe I should say at the very beginning is that I was given a key for Planetfall and the 2 DLC from Paradox, whereas I bought Age of Wonders 3 on my own, so that might be some information that's coloring the view on my own. I generally think I was kind of like everybody else on this game when it first came out, wondering, is like, well, you know, Age of Wonders 3 is a really good game. What more can they really do with it? Isn't this just going to be the fantasy game with science fiction textures? It is very much an improvement on the formula, in my view. I think I am largely very I'm largely very enthusiastic about the improvements that they've made. So, for instance, in Age of Wonders 3, you'll sort of agonize over which hex you want to put your base down on, because in the end, you know, if you put it one hex to the left, you get this resource. If you put it one hex to the right. I wouldn't say they're totally different games. I think probably you've probably seen enough in the game here to see that there is a strategic layer which is really driving the bus, but when you go to do the battles, there is this tactical layer which you know, really is kind of this big differentiating feature. So they're not. I think they're very fairly comparable. I think if you like the Age of Wonders games, you're very likely to like Age of Wonders Planetfall. I do like how they've simplified a number of the sort of economy. I think when I say simplified, is like I think they have still given you interesting choices to make from a strategic point of view without while removing some of the more fiddly bits. So what I mean by that is when when I was talking about, agonizing over which hex you want to put a base down to. Thank you very much for that follow. Instead, you will take individual sectors, and those sectors are going to have certain bonuses. So this one has a pretty substantial food bonus. This is an industry bonus. And then, of course, there's the raw material. Not everyone has bonuses, right? So in this case, this has 1 unit food, 2 energy, 1 industry, whereas this is 2 food, 1 energy, 1 science. And so I still think your expansion can basically be your main sector and then 4 additional sort of adjacent sectors to a maximum of 2 spaces out. So I think this gives you lots of interesting choices, and you get a lot of population management in the game. With the colonist management, if you want, you can automate or you can prioritize certain elements. So in this case, I don't necessarily feel that it's any less in depth than, say, Civilization. But I do feel that what they have done is they have the simplification I'm talking about is they're getting rid of what I thought was a lot of the activity that was me fussing around with stuff that was taking my attention away from maybe more grander scale options. I think they've added some interesting steps to diplomacy. So if you ally with someone and then you don't talk with them for like 20 turns, there's going to be penalties to the relationship. You actually want to maintain those connections. I think the units and the story that they've come out with that's a real highlight. And I think to me, a really important thing about the Age of Wonders games, of course, is that you get to capture a lot of the things that are interesting in previously fantasy books, right? So you have these larger-than-life heroes that perform great feats on the battlefield. And of course, in this case, you've got a secret technology, so they're kind of going the Arthur C. Clarke route of, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. But it works. They come by it honestly. The races are definitely not. I mean, there's a couple of you kind of consider them to be stock science fiction races, but I think they've definitely gone with very original and very interesting takes on the different factions and the special technologies they can have. Now, I will admit I'm less familiar with Age of Wonders 3's campaign system. So I don't know if they went as far as they did in Planetfall. The campaign seems to be giving you lots of individual choices that will have consequences later on in the game. I'm playing the DLC campaign right now, so I've taken a little bit of a break on that, but I feel like for the single-player fans, they've really put a lot of effort into giving them something very rich and engaging to play with. And again, for me, this is where it becomes very difficult to say whether or not this game is better than Age of Wonders 3, because in the end, a very large part of this experience to me is that storytelling dimension. In Age of Wonders 3, I go into dungeons and I get a powerful relic with which I'll be able to, accomplish even greater things on the battlefield. In the case of Age of Wonders Planetfall, that might be going to find secret technology, or that might be following a quest or something along those lines. But keeping in mind, so again, the reason I'm giving this long answer, and the reason why I wanted to start off with the disclaimer of the fact that I was given a key for this, my view of this is that from a gameplay point of view, Age of Wonders Planetfall reflects the fact that Triumph has been, this is sort of the fourth sort of major release of this series. I think it reflects the fact that they have been thinking about these kinds of strategy games. They took the science fiction theme and they decided to add elements that, work in science fiction and make the game interesting in that own right. And so, in addition to the fact that for me, it's a very satisfying science fiction 4X for which there are relatively few, right? You've got Civilization Beyond Earth, you've got Endless Space 1 and 2, and then you've got, the Warhammer or Gladius and stuff like that. But that, just because there is the existence of a 4X game doesn't necessarily mean it's great. Like, I have the remake of Master of Orion, but that didn't really speak to me the same way that maybe Endless Space did. The revealed preference for me is that every time there's a new Age of Wonders Planetfall DLC, I inevitably wind up doing 2 or 3 more casts. And this is actually the first broadcast where I'm actually ending on time, this digression notwithstanding. So gameplay-wise, I think it definitely reflects, Triumph continuing to think a bit about what works for strategy games. Even this particular game has gotten like 2 major patches, which have sort of refined the economy and have simplified certain systems, added a little bit extra. So even if you don't play with the Revelations or the Invasions DLC, I feel like you're getting you're getting quite a bit more than what was released on its own. And I love the game unreleased, don't get me wrong. And then for me, on a like point of interest, I am a big science fiction fan, and so being able to, nothing wrong with fantasy, but I think one thing that I wasn't expecting was how much I have fallen in love with this science fiction world that Triumph have created, and in retrospect, it makes a lot of sense because, of course, this is what makes Age of Wonders such an interesting game, that you have individual heroes that you customize, you have those sort of role-playing elements for, and you're driving them into the battles and whatnot. But with that in mind, sometimes you have to actually experience the setting to realize that that's such a key feature for the game. This is a pretty rough run of things. So like I said, I'll probably reset the campaign here because this is a very powerful unit, and I feel like now that I've learned the lesson about when I should be declaring wars and whatnot, it wouldn't be bad to start with a clean slate here. But yeah, with that in mind, Wesley Cruster, based on my own preferences, I think it is an excellent game. I think anyone who liked Age of Wonders 3 is probably very likely to enjoy Age of Wonders Planetfall, if not more. I suppose the one thing I can say is we live in the age of the 2-hour refund. And for those of you who are on the fence about the game, it is obviously on sale. I believe if you go to paradoxplaza.com, their midsummer sale is going on, and if you just want to buy it off of Steam, I know on Steam it's 50% off. I do give a slight recommendation that you guys consider going to paradoxplaza.com as long as the price is the same. And the only reason I mention that is if you buy it from Paradox directly, they do not need to pay the 30% to Steam for buying the game. And I mean, obviously the fact of the matter is here, you're looking at a broadcast that they gave a key to kind of give you an idea about whether or not this game is interesting to you. Steam hasn't really drawn your attention to the game. And so in these cases here, you still get a Steam key if you get it on Paradox Plaza. If it costs you the same, I tend to like advocating for the developers and putting a bit more money in their pocket. But on the other hand, if you think that you may return it within the first 2 hours, if you feel comfortable with Steam, whereas maybe you don't want to give your credit card to Paradox, that's not a hard requirement. Obviously, I don't get credit for it. I don't get a kickback for the referral. I know 30% is a lot. Like, imagine you had to pay 30% of your salary, for a recruiting firm recommending you. I figure you'd probably be a little salty about that. So I always like to try and advocate where I can. And for those of you who are not interested in buying this game, but you just like watching me play it, that will be for you next week. Just as a recap for what's going to be happening for the oncoming week, I'm going to save that. I might tool around with this on my own. I should call this and tomorrow there's going to be the next Morrowind episode. That's a pre-recorded video, but that will be going live at 7. The high-quality version is on YouTube as always, but if you want to participate in chat, I'm usually hanging out. Wednesday, we will have more of the... Well, I was going to say more of the Exile DLC, but I might actually go back to the base game, but Cultist Simulator one way or the other. Friday, we'll probably be back to Outer Wilds. I really enjoyed that, and I hope I'm feeling better so I don't... I'm not quite as stupid as I was last round. And then I don't know if next week I'll be back to Age of Wonders Planetfall or Stellaris. Given the fact that I may reset this campaign, it might not be bad to get a round of Stellaris in. But I will let you know when I'm doing that. I'll always announce whatever I'm playing on Twitter. Finally, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to just find someone to host, assuming... I noticed the last couple of times I've been live, there haven't been that many people streaming. I'm a little curious why. It might just be because my hours are a bit weird. But let's see... I was wondering if Sniper Guy Gaming might be on, but he was playing Return of the Obra Dinn. He's not on. You know what? I always shout out Uncle Cranky, but I don't get a chance to show him to you. So Uncle Cranky is playing a game I'm very fond of, and I will be getting back to before too long. He is currently playing Hades. So this is Supergiant's new game. It's currently in early access, but it's actually almost out. I think they've got one last major patch before that gets done. So if you haven't seen Hades, definitely stick around for seeing that. Uncle Cranky's also an Australian who's moved to New Zealand. Very friendly guy, and especially if you keep showing up to my stream wondering why I'm signing off, his hours work really well for that. So thank you for the follows. Thank you for hanging out. I will see some of you tomorrow for the pre-recorded video. I will see the rest of you who only like the live stuff Wednesday or later. I hope you have a good night, and we'll see you next time.